Welcome in, guys, to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode 19. Can you believe it, Dave?
No, I actually can't believe it. How are we on episode 19, man? This has been so much fun, though. Holy, how do we still have stuff to talk about?
Dude, we're closing in on 5 months of podcasts, which is wild to think. In January, we decided upon this thing, and then we finally got going. I mean, dude, 5 months worth of podcasts. It makes me happy. You know, it's consistently, we haven't missed a week. And that was one of our promises in the beginning. We weren't gonna miss a week.
This is one of my favorite parts of the week, actually. I really enjoy this. What's interesting is I had a chance to call some people that I haven't talked to in a while this past week. And there's people that I talked to that I had no idea were listening every week, and they're active listeners. They're checking us out. They say great work and keep it up. And that to me is awesome, man. We're making a difference, and that is what we set out to do. So let's keep charging forward, man, for the next 19.
For sure. And it's funny. We'll get into the show, but I mean, now we're on the topic. We might as well make this a little bit of a topic as to what's been going on in the show. You said you talked to some people that are active listeners. We have a mutual friend that's heading off to Nigeria. And he said that he downloaded all 18 episodes so he could listen to it on a 17-hour plane ride. I mean, come on, that makes me feel pretty good.
I mean, I don't know what sounds better. I mean, that seems like an amazing plane ride. Get to listen to us for that many hours.
Well,
Holy cow.
I did talk to him about 20 minutes before he took off, and I said, man, I appreciate you downloading all those episodes, but at the end of the day, I said, man, 10-minute phone conversations with Brett are tough enough to get to handle. So let alone 17 hours. I said, I don't know if we got 17 hours of content out there. I said, but 17 hours of Brett will make your head spin.
Yeah, that's a lot of Brett. I mean, I don't even know if I can handle that. So
yeah, no,
we'll see if he can do it.
And for those of you, let's keep this off the cuff here before we get into the meat of the episode. For those of you watching on YouTube, Dave made fun of my haircut today. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, Andine chops me up. My wife, and then we're going to do a little inflation talk off the cuff here. I don't pay money for haircuts. Dave, you do spend money on haircuts, right?
I do. So, I do spend money on haircuts, and it's $19 for a haircut.
And how long?
Plus tip.
And how often do you get your haircut?
Every 2 weeks.
So you're talking $40 a month minimum every 2 weeks. Now, here's an inflation tip, guys. If your wife is skilled enough to cut your hair, unless you have some Rico Suave type style up top that you need to be handled by a hair salon or a barbershop, get yourself a pair of 1995 clippers at any store you want to go to. Look at the job my wife does. Granted, I'm balding, so my hair is a little bit easier to handle, but there's an inflation tip for you. There's some things, Dave, and I want to ask you this question. What are some things that you skimp on and some things that you will not skimp on? Just give me a couple examples.
Yeah. Well, interesting enough, I had Andine cut my hair during the COVID crisis when all the barbershops closed down. That was a big thing for me. And to my credit, I kept doing that until you moved.
Yeah.
So, you kind of forced my hand to get back into the barbershop, but I do love going to the barbershop. It's one of my favorite things to do. It gives me a chance to relax a little bit. So I don't really skimp on that. That's one of the things I don't skimp on. The other thing I don't skimp on, man, is I am a food snob, brand snob when I go to the store. Like, yeah, I know these two things are exactly the same, but this one's got the brand name recognition and I buy it. It's what I do. And Casey gets mad at me about it sometimes, but it's like, that's the fact of the matter. But oh geez, what do I skimp on?
So give me what are you frugal on? Give me something that you're frugal over.
Boy, that's a good one. What am I frugal over? I'm a little frugal on how much we will spend on random stuff like at the store. Like I don't like the kids always want to go to like Five Below or the dollar store and they want to buy stuff. And I'm like, no, We're not doing that. Like we're not just going and wasting money. But on the flip side, I'll go spend $5 more on something at the grocery store because it's got the brand name. So it's kind of stupid if you think about it. Right. But, I'm frugal on some things. Like I want to make sure, that, when we go out to eat, like we're not going to places all the time that are super expensive. So we'll find places that are a little bit less expensive, things like that. But, you know, I do like to spend money.
Yeah.
Contrary to, how I handle my money. I wish I had unlimited funds and I could just go spend, man, because I'm a spender at heart.
Yeah.
And not, it took a lot for me to start saving. And what I found out recently, actually, the last couple of weeks, I was just dealing with this today, is that Bryce is a huge spender. That boy, dude.
Yeah.
He just wants to go and spend money every day. Yeah. He's like, Dad, I want to go and I want to buy this new costume. Or Dad, this thing he wants now for Christmas, he wants a dirt bike. He saw this kid riding a dirt bike around the neighborhood. He wants a dirt bike. And I'm like, dude, like a decent dirt bike's like $600-800 for your size, Yeah. And he's like, Dad, that's what I want. He goes, how incredible will it be when I come out on Christmas morning and Santa leaves a dirt bike for me? He's like, it'd be the most amazing thing ever. And I'm like, I don't know if Santa's got the resources to make a dirt bike. He goes, not Santa, Dad, the elves. Yeah. The elves will get it done. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow. And then he's like, I want to spend $40 on a costume. I'm like, all right, well, how much did you do on your chores last week? And he brings me over the chore chart and it's like 50 cents worth of stuff. I'm like, dude. And then Kendall's the opposite. Everything she goes into is in save mode, because I told the kids when they get to be old enough to drive, I will match whatever they save for their car. Yeah. So, if they save $5,000, here's another $5,000, go buy yourself a $10,000 car. So Kendall's got it in her mind that she's going to be driving like some ridiculous car. So I'm going to have a lot to dish to her, but to Bryce, I mean, he's probably going to barely be able to afford a moped. So I think I'm good there.
Yeah. That's what I love, Bryce. He's just the way you describe what he just said about Santa and the elves. It's just, that's so Bryce. Caroline is my Bryce in that sense. She gets a penny. It literally is burning a hole in her pocket to spend it. Whether someone sends her $5 for her birthday, $40, she doesn't understand the fact that money goes into a savings account. None of that. She just says Amazon. And that's the thing with kids and technology. I forgot what episode number it was, but the kids and the technology thing. Caroline can get on Andine's phone and go on Amazon and be like, do, but better than I can. Hey, I want this. Can we add this to the cart? Kind of like how Bryce, he wants $40 for this, $20 for this. Like, and I've always wanted to use, and this is something my father always said to me, and I'm sure your father said to you, I just want to use the old adage. What do you think? Money grows on trees?
Yeah,
right?
sure.
That was what we always got when we were kids, right? If we asked for something, what do you think? Money grows on trees? And I've always wanted to use that, So it's interesting to be able to.
We were talking because he was talking about the dirt bike, and I'm trying to tell him like how expensive it is. Like, dude, it's not just the dirt bike, right? The dirt bike's expensive. Now I got to get you a helmet. I got to get you pads. I got to get you boots. I got to get you clothes. Like all these things. I go, and what about the gas? Like, where are you getting the gas for this thing? You're gonna buy the gas yourself? He goes, well, Dad, how much is gas? And I said, it's $5 a gallon. He goes, oh, that's cheap. I go, Bryce, gas is literally the highest price it's ever been in history here. And you're calling that cheap. Yeah. So like he does, I mean, he's 5, gonna be 6 shortly, but like, it's funny to because I remember doing the same thing as a kid where I would try and rationalize everything, every decision for something I wanted to buy. I'm like, well, what about this? And what about this? And he makes me laugh. He's nuts.
Yeah, it's awesome. And this is what I love about the podcast that we have. This is just totally off the cuff here, guys. This is, hey, listen, I thought of something. Dave made fun of my hair. And to go full circle back to the original question that I asked you about what do you get, what don't you, what are you frugal on and what do you not? Like what you absolutely have to spend the money on and what you don't. And then I am the opposite of you. I am not a spender. I don't spend any money. At like literally at all, I don't spend any money. Andine takes care of spending the, what goes, she'll ask me for my input on the grocery list or if I need anything. But in terms of, want to talk about ways to save money for inflation. Yes, my wife cuts my hair. I'm cheap. I will never go to a barber shop or a salon to cut my hair. I also am very cheap. And here's a life tip for everybody out there, especially guys. Go to the dollar store to get your body wash and all that shampoo and shit. Listen, you can spend $8 a bottle or $7 a bottle for the expensive stuff. And guess what? Read the label. The dollar bottle at the dollar store of the body wash got the same exact chemicals in it that are terrible for your skin. So those are the things that I am very frugal on. deodorant.
Is that a rash? Is that a rash on your neck right now that I see?
Yeah. That's from the body. That's my body wash rash. But the things that, and guys, and I'm saying this jokingly, but if you are in dire need of in a financial situation, you do need to save some money. Maybe it's not a bad idea to cut back on those things. You wouldn't realize how much you would save if you cut back $2 or $3 on your deodorant, your toothpaste, your body wash, and things like that. And that's not any of the topics we're going into today. This all just spurred Dave. And I know you want to chime in here on some financial stuff.
Yeah, well, you just jog my memory of the thing that I do not care what it costs. I will spend it regardless. And that's air conditioning.
Yep.
We've talked about this before. Brett will keep his house at 90 degrees and comfortable. No problems at all. Everybody's good. And Dean will beg to differ, and so will the girls, but whatever. Yeah. But 68 degrees, ride or die. That's what it is. I don't care how much electricity goes up to. That will be one thing that is always in the budget, and I will always find a way to pay for. Fixing my stuff around the house, I won't pay anybody to do that. I'll figure it out myself. I got my dad that I can call, or I'll look on YouTube. Those are ways for me that I just save money and refuse to pay somebody to do. So that I'm very frugal with. But the AC, whatever it takes.
The other thing that I don't spend any money on is clothes. And Dean gets me all the time. She gets angry. Babe, just get yourself a new pair of shorts, a new shirt, a new something, I don't spend money on clothes. I don't care where the clothes come from. I don't care if they come from Walmart or if they come from Dick's Sporting Goods or if they come from Gucci. I don't spend any money on clothes. I have, outside of your necessities, underwear and socks, which I buy because you just go through underwear and socks. I put holes in my socks and stuff. But my gym shirts for working out, I have shirts that are 15 years old. I have shorts with holes in them that I still wear. And Dave, you can, I do not spend money. I think that is the biggest waste of money that there is when it comes to fitness. People will say, here's a fitness lesson. You don't need to wear nice clothes to get in shape. I am a perfect living, breathing example of how you can be a physically fit human being and not spend. Shit, look how much a pair of Nike shorts cost these days. God, they're like $45 for a pair of shorts. Are you kidding me? I go to, there's no way. The only things that I buy are clearance. Because guess what? I'm still going to run a 7-minute mile if I'm in Nike shorts or freaking Russell Athletic shorts from the clearance rack. It doesn't matter to me.
And they're going to be covered in sweat, and they're going to stink, and they're going to be garbage after a while anyway. So what does it matter? I'm with you.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing. My body wash, my toiletries, all that stuff, and my clothes. My haircut. But when it comes to the flip side of that, things that I will spend money on, we don't very rarely go out to eat at restaurants. But when we do go out to restaurants, I like to spend the money at the restaurant to get, when the kids look at menus, and Andine can attest to this, when my family, if we do go out to dinner and they look at a menu and, what's the first thing? Oh, this is $17. I don't look at the prices on the menu. That's if I'm going to go out, that's a treat. Then I'm not going to fret over pennies and nickels and dimes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyways, guys, sidetracked for the first, 10 minutes of the show here. I've been talking about, it all started with my haircut, which Dave, it makes fun of me for, but it
looks like an Ace Ventura moment. It's like you're driving down the street with your head out the thing and the wind's just pushing it up.
He is one of my favorite actors of all time, Jim Carrey. And that is a top 5 all time comedy, in my opinion. The original Ace Ventura it's a phenomenal, phenomenal movie. The amount of one-liners that came out of it. But anyways, guys, so let's get into episode 19 today. And I'm going to call this, as you guys know, we talk about a variety of topics on the show. Sometimes we're doing a little Q&A. We have the cool, we had the America episode. We had the Q&A. We had the dad Q&A for Father's Day. So we're trying to mix it up and give you a bunch of variety on the show moving forward. And moving forward, eventually, we'd like to get some guests, have some other dads. I even threw the idea out to Dave this morning. Let's have a wives episode. Let's get our wives in the same room with us and pick their brains a little bit. But I do want to, it's one of the points that I did tell Dave, by the end of this year, we are in July, I would like to start having a guest on every few episodes, because I think it gives us some perspective as fathers, what we, maybe things that we just miss or we don't miss, or things that we have different opposing views on with people. So moving forward, that's one of the big things. Dave, if you haven't checked out, he's working on some cooking segments. As you know, Dave loves to do the food thing. So he's been working on some cooking segments for the YouTube channel. Anything else, Dave, you want to add in there, and kind of what's we're going to move forward with the show, and any different topics or?
Yeah, I want to push our listeners to send in information, send in ideas that you want to hear us talk about. If things that you're interested in, that you've got questions on, we can answer questions on the show. If that's the easiest format to do that. And I know, Brett, you had talked about doing some fitness things and adding some fitness videos to the YouTube side of thing as well. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm coming up with new cooking things every single week now. I want to make that a regular thing because I think it's fun. People have enjoyed it. And it's really a good chance for you to bond with your kids and do some stuff. And I even have the kids now, Bryce helped me with the last one. And Kendall's like, Dad, I want to do the next one. Let me do the next one. So they're excited about it and it's fun. So, you can do those types of things with your kids and you're not only having fun in the moment, you're teaching them great things moving forward. And I know, if you do some of the stuff on the fitness side, I think that's going to be great because that's going to give dads an opportunity to see what they can do with their kids and kind of bring them make sure they're bringing them into a healthy lifestyle, which is ultimately what we want. And yeah, I think, we're going to have some great guests on the show, give you some different perspective, hear a little bit more Q&A with them, and it'll be a lot of fun. So keep listening.
Yeah. And one more staple that will be added to the show for the next, let's call it 9 weeks. We're going to have a 75 hard update. It's another level of accountability for both Dave and myself, because as you know, we as we said in last week's show, we're both back on 75 hard again. Currently, as this episode comes out, I will be on day 18, and Dave, I think, will be on 16. So my 75 hard update, and I think we do the Bible verse, we do the book recommendation. I think it's only fair to just throw a quick little 30-second 75 hard update. I'm feeling good. How about you?
Oh man, I feel great. I was telling you the other day, I'm looking forward to the opportunity when it gets a little bit cooler here, because right now my workouts are I like to do both my workouts outdoors. It's part of why we moved here, to be outside. So, right now it's so hot in the middle of the day. I'm up super early in the morning and then we're out super late at night getting them in, so that's a little bit cooler. So I'm looking forward to when it gets maybe a little bit cooler at the end of the summer, so I can start shrinking that time gap, because it's that part's taking its toll. But man, I feel great, and I'm grateful, like I said in the last episode, like hopped right back on it. Yeah, I failed, I owned it, jumped right back in, and here we go, because it does make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we're hopping into the Bible verse. My Bible verse this morning, so I'm going to hold up a book on the screen if you're watching YouTube. It's a devotional for girls. It's the Illustrated Devotional for Girls, 366 Days of Creative Coloring and Faith-Filled Devotion. So Madison reads this every day, my oldest. And in the pages, it's just, it's a little prayer on each page for each day of the week, each day of the year, actually. So today's Bible verse actually came from this, because Madison reads it, and I always read it afterwards, or I read it first. Sometimes I just make it part of my morning routine. I read my Bible verses that I'm reading, and then I also check out the verse that Madison's going to be reading that day. So that's where today's Bible verse came from. And today's Bible verse, verbatim out of the book, is from Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. And it states, "Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you shine like stars in the universe." And that's verbatim what it is. The full verse is, "Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky." And the headline of that page of today's reading is, it's "Stop whining." We need to become less combative, less argumentative. Stop whining so much. Stop complaining so much. And that one really hit me, because I'm like, and it spurned today's main topic of the show, and I, really want to get your thoughts on this. It's not my kids that just fight all the time. It's not my kids that are just competitive with each other, tooth and nail to the throat. It's not just my kids that complain and whine all the time. Is it?
Is it just your kids?
Yeah.
No, it's not just your
kids.
kids.
Okay, good.
My
So I feel better. I feel better already.
Yeah, no, man, it's everybody's kids. And sometimes it's hard to realize that when you're in the moment. You're like, everybody can't be like this, because nobody would have kids, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
but here we are. I mean, for me, like, I don't know about you, but when Kendall and Bryce are separated and we're just, Casey's out with one of the kids, I'm with one of the kids, they're each completely different. than they are when they're together.
Absolutely.
Now, Bryce, not so much as Kendall. He's pretty chill and go with the flow, but he acts different. But when Kendall, the older one, is around her younger brother, it's incredibly frustrating at how her attitude changes. And like, she's just, and it's whiny, and it's like, stop. And she's just, I guess, she doesn't feel like she's getting the same amount of attention, which couldn't be further from the truth, but that's what she believes. And that's okay. If that's what she believes, we have to find a way to work around that. But it's just a constant whine and yelling and fighting. And, he did this, and, any attention, I think they get the feeling like any attention is good attention. When it's not, because I get really pissed off.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. And, and in this devotional, it speaks in here, and I'm going to just read a couple words out of it. It speaks, complaining comes so naturally to some people, whining about other people, about jobs that you're told to do, about responsibilities, about lack of freedom, and arguing. Family relationships and friendships are nearly impossible without some arguing. All right. But my kids, sometimes they take it to an extreme level of arguing. And my kids are at, like you said, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you. They are completely different humans when they're not together. If you the dynamic of, because I have 3, you have 2, so the dynamic of 3 is a little different. So if I just pull one out, you know what I mean, and so let's just say, for example, we'll do an example of each. If I pull just Madison out, Caroline and Finley, usually Caroline automatically shifts to the number 1 because she's older, and they will play Barbies, play Legos, and it will literally kind of lead usually to some kind of spat between the two of them, because Finley's like, hey, you're in my freaking room. Get out of here. You're just coming here trying to control. And Finley will say, and then Caroline they'll go back and forth. If I pull Caroline out, Madison and Finley have the largest age gap. So that dynamic is very different, because Madison's going to be 12 and Finley's only 4. So there is absolutely nothing in common. Madison's past the Barbie stage. Every once in a while we can get her into the Lego, because Finley likes to play Legos. Every once in a while Madison will hop in there and play Legos. But for the most part, they're so different in age that it really is difficult. Madison's more like the cool older sister, the mom type, the second mom type of thing. And if you pull Finley out, that's where I see the least amount of change, because my oldest 2, Madison and Caroline, fight like me and my brother did. They are constantly arguing. They're always, and that's where the topic of competition, the competition, there's competition amongst them, all 3 of them, but amongst those 2 is where the most competition comes in. Because the prime example, a package comes in the mail, and I don't know if you can attest to this between Bryce and Kendall. A package comes in the mail, and it's for Madison. Caroline goes, well, why didn't I get something, right? Or a package comes in the mail for Caroline, and then Finley's like, well, why did Caroline get something and I didn't get something, right? There's always a constant, it's like a power struggle amongst them, where they're at their stage right now where they're just, I don't know, satisfied is not the word I'm looking for, but they're just never satisfied with someone getting something that they seem as better, or you got one more thing than I did. And I know that's normal, but at what point is it become like, it's like a pain in the ass? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a complete pain in the ass. I mean, for me, like random things, I'll think of 2 things yesterday that came up, right? So last night, the kids and I got back from our workout last night. We hopped in the pool and was playing in the pool, and everything I do for one kid, the other one wants me to do for them.
Yep.
So I threw Bryce across the pool. Kendall, Dad, throw me across the pool. Okay, Kendall. And I throw her across the pool. And I pick up Bryce again, throw him across the pool. Kendall, throw me again across the pool. Like, no, I don't want to do that. But you threw him across the pool. And it's like, and then it was at bedtime. I picked Bryce up. We were just out in the living room. I grabbed him, I picked him up, put him on my shoulder, and I carried him in his room. Kendall, Dad, pick me up and carry me into my room. It's like, God damn. Like, shit. I mean, everything, literally everything I do right now, I feel like I need to, they expect it both to happen. And I don't have a psychology degree, so I don't know why, but it's really frustrating, because it's like, just because I picked your brother up and carried him in doesn't mean I love you any less.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I love him any more. Like, because I'm going to do something different when I put you to bed. Like, everything doesn't have to be the same. Like, you're 2 different people.
Yeah.
completely different people. And when they're not around each other again, it's not like that at all. It's insane how different it is. And I'm sure every father out there, every parent out there feels the same way. It's like, how do you separate that so that it's not that feeling? And I don't have personal experience in that. I'm an only child.
Yeah.
Casey's an only child. We have no brothers and sisters. Our kids have no aunts or uncles or cousins. And it's weird, right? Yeah. Both of us never thought we would marry someone who's an only child. So I don't have the same perspective. For me, it was just me in the house. It was my parents. Anything I needed, they took care of. I was never competing with anyone over anything. So, like, I just don't get them. Like, why can't you two be best friends? Because, when I look back, when I was, I appreciate now being an only child. But, when I was a kid, I always wanted to have somebody to play with.
Yeah.
So, I was always like, oh, can I have a friend over this? Because I never had a brother or sister. I would have given anything to be like, oh, yeah, I got a brother or sister that I can play with. So, I'm, envious of that in the sense that they have somebody to play with all the time. Even if, we're not available, they have somebody they can go to. So, just be friends.
Oh, I say the same thing all the time. I'm like, you guys are sisters. Look how you treat each other, and I've asked my dad and my mom a million times this question because I grew up three of us, right? My sister really wasn't in the competition stage with us ever because my older sister is 6 years older, right? 40. Yeah, she's 6 years older, 6 to 7 years older than me and my brother were. So she never really was in the picture when it came to, plus she was a girl and we got two boys. We were 11 months apart. So we, obviously competition in my household was pretty tough, but I think, and this is a two-part thing, asking my dad about it, he goes, yeah, you and your brother fought like cats and dogs. You always were competitive. You always this, but I was always at a disadvantage. My brother, now anyone that knows me, I'm 6'5", 205 pounds. My brother though was 6'5" or 6'3" as like a 7th grader or 8th grader. So when it came to competition, I always lost. I never won. I could never win. Right. I never could win a competition with my brother at any sport because he was just bigger, stronger, faster. And it always came down to sports with us, right? The only ace in the hole that I had is I was the baby. I'm the original baby. So I always had that play. It was my only play. But I want to turn this into a topic of now versus then, right? When I was in 6th grade, I'll never forget. There was basketball tryouts for, I guess it would technically be like an AAU team now, whatever you call it, today's day and age. It was a travel basketball team. And me and my brother, I went to school at 4 because I was a January baby. I was always the youngest kid in the grade. I was always 11 months younger than my brother, smaller than him. But we always played the sports at the same level because we were in the same grade. And I'll never forget 6th grade travel basketball. 6th or 7th grade, my memory's a little foggy. But he he made the team and I didn't. And I'll never forget, and this is where a good old-fashioned father talk comes into play. And this is what I think is missing in today's day and age. And we've done topics on the show before about how kids are entitled these days. But this is where a good old-fashioned, dad moment comes into play. My brother makes the travel basketball team. I don't. I start crying like a freaking baby. I can't believe it. He made the team. I didn't make the team. Yada, yada, yada. I'm just as good as him. When realistically, I wasn't just as good as him. He was 50 pounds and 4 inches taller. You know what I mean? I wasn't just as good as him. But that's what my dad, and these are the conversations that don't happen enough today. Instead of the coddling, my dad goes, suck it up, be better, work harder, try harder, go, take 10 more jump shots every day, take 10 more free throws, those hard conversations that need to happen that don't happen anymore in today's society, which I think is the reason why kids are so whiny. Even my kids, right? Those conversations that my dad had with me only made me stronger. They didn't make it worse, but it's frowned upon in today's day and age. But those hard and sure enough, next year after that, made the team, but that year I remember that memory. That whole year we went to every travel basketball game and I had to watch my brother play. I wasn't on the team. I literally didn't make the team because I wasn't good enough.
Talk about motivation.
And it wasn't
to get better.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, that was before the times where parents would go bitch into coaches about, hey, you didn't pick my kid, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, listen, and I've had that experience as a soccer coach in the last 10 years where you got to tell a parent, hey, listen, your kid didn't make the team. And then in today's day and age, those parents instantly call you, oh, she's better than so-and-so. He's better than so-and-so. And you go, no, listen, I got to bring you back to earth. I got to be honest with you. Your kid didn't make the team because the kid is just not where is just not at the level of the other 11 kids that I picked. I mean, it's as simple as that, and that, that's one memory in my life that I clearly remember that, maybe it was different because me and my brother were so close and we were always in the same grade, but like, those are where we have to have those dad moments and say, hey, listen, man, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, like you said, there's a reason. I mean, there's so many more absent fathers now than there ever were. And I think that's taking its toll on the generations that are coming up now. One thing I will say though is, we get complimented on our kids a lot when they go someplace, because they usually go a lot of places together, that our kids are really good and well behaved, and that means a lot to me. And yeah, they whine a lot in front of us, but I don't get the impression from the people that I've talked to that spend time with our kids that happens when we're not around. Mm-hmm. So I think they take advantage of the situation. Again, I think it's more of an attention grabber. And we sent Bryce and Kendall to camp the first month of the summer, and we knew a couple of the people who were a part of the camp, counselors or teachers, however you want to put it. And I forget, one day they sent us a picture, and it was Kendall helping her brother do some stuff. And I thought it was so cool because the older kids went and worked with the younger kids, and they both wanted to be with each other. Mm-hmm. Outside of the house, they had a chance to be with whoever they wanted to be. They each picked to like work with each other. And to me, that was awesome, because I was like, see, you guys are best friends. Like, you truly are. And I don't have perspective. I don't know what that's like, but like, you guys are gonna be best friends forever. So all this minutia bullshit that you fight about at home, like, really think about it. The words that you're using and the actions that you have, like, you don't want to deteriorate that, because you are best friends. You'll be best friends forever. You're going through all these things in life together. And you'll always be there for each other long after Casey and I are gone. And I think that's really something special. So, like, despite the whining that I'm talking about, they do truly love each other and like to spend time with each other because of situations like that. And it might not always seem it at home, but like, just know, like, staying on them, being disciplined with it, is important, because, outside of the house, I think it's a much different situation.
Oh, you're so right, because, two things off of that little segment there. Yeah, me and my brother, like, three things actually. The camp thing is so cool because that hardened us. Like, when we were kids, like, both my parents worked. We went to summer camp. Like, you were outside all day long at summer camp, and it just taught you how to win and lose and cry and fight and all those good things. But just like you just said, that picture of Kendall helping Bryce, where like they wanted to do it. Like, I always wanted to be where my brother was. He was the ultimate protector for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My brother was an alpha. Like, he was the man. Like, I always looked up to him, even though he used to pound on me and beat me and we'd fight all the time. Like, there was no other person I ever would want in my corner when it came to things like that. Like, if we were picking a partner in a game, it was always my brother, or a school thing like that. I always wanted to be with my brother. You know what I mean? And yeah. I do see that in my kids, because our kids do that. They can sometimes act like complete jerks at home, but then when they go somewhere and you get a compliment, oh, your kids are so well behaved, they're so polite, and you're like, you talking about my kids? I know you're not talking about my kids. You know what I mean? What? But like, an example of that, like this past week at church, they called all the kids up first. They were doing a little kids prayer like they do in the beginning of church every week. And Madison is the oldest, and Caroline and Finley. Caroline's my tough guy, right? She's our middle kid. She's the tough one. But man, when it comes to stuff like that, she is glued to Madison. I want to sit next to Madison. I want to hold Madison's hand. Finley, Finley's 4. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, Madison's my big sister. She doesn't think about the coolness factor or that type of stuff. She's just like, okay, I'm going to sit where you are because I'm 4. Where Caroline could easily just go sit next to another 9-year-old. But no, wherever Madison sits, boom, she wants to be right there. And that's the dynamic. And I think that's the things that we need to tell our kids. Like, when I read in that devotional this morning, yeah, dude, you're going to argue with your siblings. You're going to argue with your parents. You just try to, and it's hard for a kid to see big picture because they're young. Yeah. But you try to instill a little bit of that in them. Like, hey, listen, you're going to be best friends for the rest of your lives. Be grateful that you have each other. And, and just try to just tone the competition, the arguing down a little bit. Because there is competition. Healthy competition, I'm all for. I love that Caroline is a better athlete than Madison. I love that because it makes Madison better. But I love that Madison... it knows, Madison's trying to teach Caroline a little bit about horseback riding, right? Because that's what Madison does. She rides every single day of the week. And Caroline knows hey, I'm not faster than her here. I can't outrun her here. I can't outsmart her here. But Madison knows, hey, this could be a learning opportunity for you, for me to teach you. And that kind of bond is cool, and then 5 minutes later it turns into an argument, who feeds the horse and blah, 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 blah. But, if they do just enough to get you to the boiling point and then reel you right back in, right? Whether it's that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Whether it's that morning cuddle that, when Caroline comes down the stairs all groggy and 5 minutes later they're at each other's throats, but that's just something I wanted to make sure, like, I was really read that this morning and it struck me like, hey, I want to talk about this, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes on our show today, because I want Dave's perspective and I wanted your perspective because you are an only child. Mm-hmm. Where I came from 3 kids. My wife comes from a family, she has a brother, and the only child perspective is good and interesting.
Yeah. I mean, most people expect that, only children are spoiled brats, but I mean, maybe it's because I'm thinking this, but I don't think I was ever that. And I think my dad would attest to that too. And I know Casey the same. And it is different. It's different as an only child because, like I said, we had our parents' attention all the time. Like when they weren't working, we had their attention. But on the flip side, when they were working and they weren't around, like we had to, be self-sufficient and learn to do things on our own. And, it's interesting because I'm still, me, like I'm still kind of a loner in the sense that like, I don't mind doing stuff by myself. Like, right. I travel a lot for work. Like I don't mind going out to dinner by myself. I don't mind going to the movies or just.
I knew you were going to say movies. I knew you were going to say movies.
Of course I was. It's like the greatest thing you could do. But like, I don't mind being by myself. I like quiet. I enjoy a time when it's just quiet and there's no talking or noise. And I know that's weird because like a lot of people come from, chaos, and now my house is chaos most of the time now. So I get used to it. But like, as an only child, like I got used to just kind of doing stuff by myself and being content with it. And, okay. The only whining I did was with my parents, and, my dad always called me go with the flow Dave because I was always so go with the flow. And if you can sense the sarcasm there, it's because there's a lot of it, because that type of stuff, like that would be what I whined about. It wasn't brothers or sisters. I was like, I don't want to do that. And I gave my parents a hard time with that stuff, but
Yeah. In our house growing up, we really didn't have enough time. We're always under, I guess it's total opposite of an only child situation, right? There was always chaos because my sister was a swimmer. Me and my brother played basketball, baseball, soccer, golf. I mean, there was never, to use the phrase, there was never a dull moment in my house growing up. And I love the fact that still is true today. There's never a dull moment in my house. Like it is what it is, but the whining thing, like you mentioned, you didn't really whine about much, a couple things, as a kid, I always whined. I was a whiner. That's because I was the baby. Like I'll admit it. I was a big time whiner when I was a kid. And it also gives me perspective because I was a whiner. My mom will tell you, if you ever ask my mom about me as a kid, she said Brett was the biggest crybaby ever. It's funny, but I was the biggest crybaby. I always cried my way because I always, like I said, I always had that card that I could pull. I was the baby. You couldn't touch me. You couldn't. I would just run. Where I don't really look at my kids that way. We try like heck, like you said about Kendall and Bryce. You try to give them equal treatment. Sometimes it feels like someone's getting more attention than the other one, but nothing's intentional there, no. to lead into those subjects of whining and whatnot. But, and to kind of wrap up this topic of whining and complaining, and it ties into today's book recommendation about whining and complaining. And Tim Kennedy is our book that we're going to talk about today. It's called Scars and Stripes. Okay, here's the book, Scars and Stripes by Tim Kennedy. And he was read the book. First of all, it's a great book. I love like badass military people. I think they're so super cool. I envy the hell out of them. And I love reading the tactical stuff and the mission stuff. But also what I love about reading books like that, when like former Navy SEALs, or he was a Green Beret, I love to see what their home life was like and how they were raised. Right? Because that gives me, if anything, we learn from that, right? We learn from all the stories that we read and all the dads that we talk to. We learn about how people grew up. And he grew up, he was small. He was picked on, older brother. And he was a whiner and a complainer in the beginning. because he was the smallest kid all the time. But he had like a bulldog mentality. You know, some smaller guys, especially the smaller kids, they're actually the ones that you want. They're like little pit bulls. You know what I mean? They're
Oh,
vicious.
sure.
You know what I mean? But the book itself, you know, he's a really rad dad. Like he's got a wild story. Like he got 2 women pregnant at the same time. So he had 2 daughters born 2 weeks apart from each other. Right before
That's insane.
Dude, right before he left to go to Army basic training to become a Green Beret, Army Special Forces. Like, go get this book. Like, if anything, it's, you know, I would call it like a memoir. You know, it says Scars and Stripes, an unapologetically American story of fighting the Taliban, UFC warriors, and himself. He's got some demons, for sure. He also was a professional MMA fighter. So any of you dads out there that watch MMA, the legends of the sport, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, he used to train with those dudes in California. So, like, it's a great book. He's a super rad dad, which we, you know, it's not every book recommendation that we know, like, dude, these dudes are great dads. You know what I mean? This dude he's awesome. He's an awesome follow on Instagram. You know, like I said, you can't commend him anymore, dude. He's a Green Beret. He's the Army's version of Navy SEAL. He's a Special Forces guy. He went to Ranger School. I mean, it's really, really cool. And he's a good follow on social media. So his book just came out called Scars and Stripes. And I recommend you pick it up, audiobook, read it, add it to your library, because you're gonna pull some stuff out of that book that, you know, the mission stuff I really like, the Army mission stuff when he was fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff. That stuff was what really, really intrigues me.
Yeah, that's always some good reading there. And I mean, I'm always in for supporting, you know, our veterans and what they've been through. And if you're elite enough to make it to the Special Forces, which I think we all can say from the things we've read and heard, how difficult it is, and the small percentage of people that actually can push through that. I mean, that's worth hearing their story and worth reading about, because it's such a small group of people that actually have the ability and, you know, the discipline to be able to push through. So it's great. That's great.
And I have my brother was in the Army. Lots of best friends from high school, you know, went to the military. And you know, guys, most men think I don't know how to say this. Most men think they're tougher than they really are. And, I could do that, right? Everyone's a Tommy Topper. Every dude with any kind of ego is a Tommy Topper. I could do that. I could do that faster. Listen, let me tell you something. I am physically fit. I am a very good athlete. I think I'm mentally tough, somewhat. I can say unequivocally, without a doubt, I would never make it through Special Forces training. All the Navy SEAL books, I would never make it through SEAL training through BUDS. Those dudes are it doesn't matter how physically fit they are. Like, you hear stories, oh, fucking freak. These guys are freaks. Those dudes are so hard mentally. Like, I'm just being honest. I have a piece of humble pie. I couldn't make it. I tell myself, listen, I think I'm tough. I think I'm fit. I think I'm strong. I would fall flat on my face. I would be one of those dudes that would ring the bell or say, I quit. And that's not something that's easily admittable. You know what I mean? But there's a reason why there's an 80% or 90% attrition rate going through these selection processes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd curl up and run away. No chance in hell that I'd make it through it, man. Yeah, if you've got the ability to push through, my God, I want to hear your story.
I don't think that these guys sign up for, and this is just a little segment on like honoring our military. Dude, I could not voluntarily sign up to be drowned and then brought back to life. You know what I mean? No, thank you. I don't want anyone to drown proof me. I don't want to be like purposely drowned and then brought back to life.
No, I'm with you. I don't want to be forced under the water, held under the water, swim with sharks, be in freezing cold temperatures. I just don't want to do it. But man, I'll tell you what, I'm so grateful that we have people in this country that, you know, want to do that. That's what they live and breathe to do. I mean, that's amazing, because like I said, I know I couldn't do it. So I'm grateful we have people that do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And on that note, I just want to say, like, you know, we don't get into politics on this show, but there's one thing for sure Dave and I always will do. We will respect the ever-living hell out of those men and women that fight for that damn flag. You will always get nothing but appreciation out of my mouth and out of Dave's mouth on this show because of what they do. So we can record this damn show every freaking week, you know?
Damn straight, man. Fuck anybody who doesn't think the same way.
Yeah,
in regards to that, I have no tolerance for it. So
100% on board with you there. And with that being said, guys, thanks for checking out episode 19 of the Full Force Fathers podcast. Check us out on YouTube and all your major podcast platforms. Keep hitting the download button, keep hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends about it. Dave, take us home.
Everybody, keep living the full force life. Get out there, enjoy the time with your kids. It is precious. We will talk to you real soon.